Welcome to AminAcademy.com. Let us discuss the real heroes of India freedom fighters. Jansirani. Jansirani Lakshmi Bai, born in November 19, 1835, Kashi, India, and died June 17, 1858. Kotah-ki-Serai near Gwalior was the Rani Queen of Jhansi and a leader of the Indian Mutiny of 1857 to 58. Brought up in the household of the Peshwa ruler Baji Rao II, Lakshmi Bai had an unusual upsprings of Brahmin girl, growing up with the boys in the Peshwa's court. She was trained in martial arts and became proficient in sword fighting and riding. She married the Maharaja of Jhansi, Gangadhar Rao, but was widowed without bearing a surviving heir to the throne. Following established Hindu tradition, just before his death, the Maharaja adopted a boy as his heir. Lord Dalhousie, the British Governor General of India, refused to recognize the adopted heir and annexed Jhansi in accordance with the doctrine of lapse. An agent of the East India Company was posted in the small kingdom to look after administrative matters. Indian troops during the rebellion of 1857, sometimes known as the Indian Mutiny, the rebellion of 1857 was the first widespread Indian upspring against British rule. The 22-year-old queen refused to cede Jhansi to the British shortly after the beginning of the mutiny in 1857, which broke out in Meerut. Lakshmi Bai was proclaimed the regent of Jhansi and she ruled on behalf of the minor heir. Joining the upspring against the British, she rapidly organized her troops and assumed charge of the rebels in the Bundelkhand region. Mutineers in the neighboring areas headed towards Jhansi to offer her support. Under General Hugh the East India Company forces had begun their counter-offensive in Bundelkhand by January 1858. Advancing from Maho, Rose captured Saugar, that is Sagar, in February and then turned towards Jhansi in March. The company forces surrounded the fort of Jhansi and fierce battle raged. Offering stiff resistance to the invading forces, Lakshmi Bai did not surrender even after her troops were overwhelmed and rescuing army of Tantia Tope, another rebel leader, was defeated at the Battle of Betwa. Lakshmi Bai managed to escape from the fort with a small force of palace guards and headed eastward where other rebels joined her. Tantia Tope and Lakshmi Bai then mounted a successful assault on the city fortress of Gwalior. The treasury and the arsenal were seized. The Nana Sahib, the prominent leader, was proclaimed as the Peshwa ruler. After taking Gwalior, Lakshmi Bai marched east to Morar to confront a British counterattacks led by Rose. Dressed as a man, she fought a fierce battle and was killed in combat. Now let us discuss further about detail of Jhansi Ki Rani. Rani Lakshmi Bai, also known as Jhansi Ki Rani, was a brave ruler of the princely kingdom of Jhansi, presently located in the Jhansi district in Uttar Pradesh. She was born on 19 November 1828 in the town of Varanasi. She was a legendary character who was involved in the early Indian rebellion of 1857 and is linked to early resistance to the British Raj. After her husband, the Maharaja of Jhansi Raja Gangadhar Rao Nevalkar passed away, Lord Dalhousie, the British Governor General of India, refused to recognize the Maharaja's adopted son as his heir and seized Jhansi as accordance with the doctrine of lapse policy. A woman warrior as courageous and strong as Rani Lakshmi Bai has never before been seen in Indian history. She sacrificed himself in the fight for Swaraj and the release of the Indian people from British oppression. Rani Lakshmi Bai is a magnificent illustration of patriotism and pride in one's country. She inspired many individuals and they look up to her. Thus, her name is immortalized in the history of India and will live on in every Indian's heart forever. Compared to most girls of her era, Lakshmi Bai had a somewhat unusual childhood. She obtained her schooling at home, including martial arts, sword fighting, horseback shooting, and fencing, while growing up in the Peshwa family with boys. Along with her childhood pals Nana Sahib and Tantia Tope, she also studied Malakamba. Manik- Manikarnika married the Maharaja of Jhansi, Gangadhar Rao Navalkar in May 1842. After the famous Hindu goddess of Lakshmi, she was given the name Lakshmi Bai. Afterwards, Damod, her son Damodar Rao, who was born in 1851 and died prematurely after her 4 months, was born. The Maharaja, who was without an heir, adopted his cousin's kid, the youngster who had previously gone by the name Anand Rao. The Lakshmi Bai, who was popularly known to the British as the Rani of Jhansi, was furious about the turn of events. She made up her mind not to give the British control over Jhansi. In March 1854, the British gave Lakshmi Bai a directive to vacate the palace and on Fort of Jhansi and appointed her to a monthly stipend of rupees 60,000. But she didn't accept that. Revolt of 1857. The revolt of 1857, which is regarded as the first significant opposition against British rule, presented a danger to British power in India for her for the first time. On May 10, 1857, a sepoy mutiny against the British East India Company broke out in Meerut, a garrison town. Lakshmi Bai had not yet rebelled against the British and had actually asked Captain Alexander Skene, the British political officer, for permission to assemble a force of armed men for her security, which she was granted. In a number of North Indian cities, the flame of insurrection was quickly spreading. Landlords and owners of princely estates who were unhappy started to rise up in the rebellion against the British army. Although the British had promised to send soldiers to Jhansi, the troops took a while to show up. When the British troops eventually arrived in Jhansi in March 1858, they were surprised by the level of defense the city had put in place due to segment of Lakshmi Bai's advisors who wished to liberate Jhansi from British authority. Heavy weapons that could fire across the entire town were installed in the fort. Rollin Revolt of 1857. The Central Indian Field Force commander, Sir Hugh Groves, warned that the city would be destroyed if it did not submit. Lakshmi Bai declared that they would struggle for independence until they died at this point. On March 23, 1858, when Rose Jhansi, besieged Jhansi, she engaged in combat with the British troops to protect the city. In addition to putting up a strong fight against the British troops, She asked Tantia Tope for assistance and obtained it. Lakshmi Bai refused to give up despite the British overwhelming her forces. The valiant Rani jumped from the fort and her horse, battled with Damodar Rao on her back and managed to escape in the night escorted by her guards. Deela Bau Bakshi, Moti Bai, Diwan Raunath Singh, and Kuda Baksh, Basharat Ali, commanders, among others, were among the various who managed to flee with her. After leaving the fort, she moved towards the east and camped at Kalpi, where she was joined by other rebels, including Tantia Tope. They were able to take control of Kalpi, but on May 22, 1858, British troops invaded the town. Lakshmi Bai led the Indian army in combat with the British, but she was unsuccessful. After escaping to Gwalior and joining other Indian soldiers, Lakshmi Bai joined the Nawab of Banda, Rao Sahib, and Tantia Tope. They led a successful assault on the city fortress of Gwalior and managed to take control of its armory and treasury without engaging in any actual fighting. The Peshwa ruler was thereafter declared to be Nana Sahib and the governor to be Rao Sahib as a Subedar. However, Lakshmi Bai anticipated a British assault in Gwalior but was unable to persuade the other Indian chiefs to plan a defense. After taking Morar on June 16 of that year, the British soldiers led by Rose successfully attacked Gwalior, confirming Lakshmi Bai's prediction. Rani Lakshmi Bai death. On June 17, 1858, Lakshmi Bai commanded a violent engagement with a squadron of 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars under Captain Heneage of Kotah-ki-Serai, close to the full bog of Gwalior. Some sources claim that Lakshmi Bai, who was dressed in a swords uniform, died when a soldier dispatched a young lady with his caravan, while other sources claim that the Rani, who was dressed as a cavalry leader's attire, engaged in a fierce battle and, after becoming seriously injured, asked her asked a hermit to burn her body in order to prevent the British from capturing it. Several residents of the area cremated her body after she passed away. Rose claimed that Lakshmi Bai's remains were buried with much ceremony beneath the tamarind tree at the foot of the rock of Gwalior. Legacy of Lakshmi Bai. Rani Lakshmi Bai is a national hero in India. She is remembered as a brave and courageous woman who fought for her homeland and her people. She is a symbol of Indian independence and resistance to colonial rule. Lakshmi Bai's legacy has inspired generations of Indians. She is a role model for women and girls, and she is a reminder of the importance of fighting for freedom and justice. Generations of people have been inspired by the brave queen's effort. Several institutions have been named in her honor, including the Rani Lakshmi Bai Central Agricultural University in Jhansi, the Maharani Lakshmi Bai Medical College in Jhansi, and so much other institution has named her. So far, we discussed about the real heroes of freedom fighters, Lakshmi Bai. We had on. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.